Hey folks, before we get started with this episode, we wanted to let you know about our sponsor, Anchor.fm. When Chloe and I decided that we wanted to have a podcast, we instantly knew that we needed to have a website where we could host it, and that would get it everywhere to everybody easily and efficiently. And that's when we found Anchor.fm. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your product. That means that you can get paid a podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. Anchor has made it easy for us to upload one episode in one spot and have it show up in Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and on Stitcher. It has made it easy for us to put ourselves out there for potential sponsors, and it's made it easier for us to just get this podcast running as a whole. So if you want to start a podcast like we did, go to Anchor.fm/start and get yourself going. All right, let's get to this episode. We at Our Damn Podcast want you to remember that possessing, using, distributing, or selling cannabis is still a federal crime, and we do not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by state law. Hello, everyone. This is Derek.
And this is Chloe.
And this is Our Damn Podcast. Welcome back to Our Damn Podcast, a show that's inspired by cannabis about all sorts of things. Today we have not one, but two very special guests with us. Would you like to introduce yourselves, friends? Hi. Just kidding, we don't have friends, apparently.
They're invisible.
This is going swimmingly already.
We're the Barnes Bros.
No, we're not.
Chris and Jill.
So we have our good friends, Gill and Chris, with us on the podcast today. How are you both doing?
Great.
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
You're very welcome. Happy to ask.
It's good to be here.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
So, Jill, you picked a topic for us today. What would you like to
It's time for
tell
show
the
and share.
world what that...
It's first times, best times, and worst times.
We have all had those. All three of those. First times, best times, and worst times.
It was the first times. It was
the
last.
worst of times.
It was the worst. It was the
I
first.
started
It was
it.
the worst.
I admit.
I feel like next time the script should be on a tablet that doesn't make crinkly noises every time someone moves in.
Just send it in a PDF. It's fine.
It's like, all right, just reading our notes.
There's some very nice ASMR for all of you out there.
So as you both know, it's tradition on the show to not be sober when we talk about our topics. So we will be smoking a pre-roll of citrus sap that we picked up at a place called The Clinic just down the road. It is a sativa dominant hybrid, and I'm excited to try it. So I'm going to spark it up.
Do it.
Not all of us will be smoking tonight. Chris, what are you enjoying?
I have combined some Barks root beer with some honey jack, and it's interesting.
Interesting how?
I would not suggest that anyone mixes together honey jack and root beer.
Oh, no.
It's consumable, and definitely not the worst alcoholic beverage I've ever consumed. But it definitely, you never, just don't put honey and root beer together. It doesn't work.
Right.
So according to Leafly.com, the citrus sap flavors consist primarily of citrus, lemon, and woody. Citrus sap is a hybrid of OG glue number 4, as well as Tangy. Tangy is a sativa dominant, and original glue number 4 is also a hybrid. Ain't that fun? Some fun facts for you.
Well, I don't myself partake. I love the smell of weed.
I get that.
So what is the first app you check when you wake up in the morning? And why?
For me, I usually don't check a specific app. I usually check my notifications, and whichever notification I feel is most imperative, I open that one first, and then that's the app. Whatever app that is, there you go.
There you go. Whichever one pops up first. Usually I check Snapchat first because that's how a lot of people talk to me because, like, I don't know, nobody texts me. So Snapchat's where a lot of my friends talk to me, so that's usually the one I check first. And then I just kind of go through my little social wheel and check all those.
I check my clock.
Sick.
Yeah, no. In all actuality, it has always been my email. Because no matter what I've been doing for work, the first thing that tells me whether or not I need to get my ass out of bed in a hurry or if I can take my time getting ready for work has always been my email. And the same applies now. I'm just looking for different kinds of email.
Sure.
Yeah. What about you, Jill?
I would say Facebook. It gives you a good rundown of your friends' emotional states and also what's going on in the world. I just like reading 10 posts. And then you go through Instagram and you're like, wow, you're crazy in Vegas again. How do you afford this lifestyle? And then you go through Snapchat and you're like, you blacked out again. Proud of you. What a rowdy kid.
So you have a system of what you check and what you're looking for?
Yeah.
I like it. I like the way you think.
All right. Chloe, what is your worst outdoor experience?
Do I have one? Oh, goodness. Oh, there was the one time I was hanging out at your house and we went walking in that park and we got eaten up by mosquitoes for like days on end. And that was the worst because I think it was like a month or two before prom. So that was fun. And I still had bug bites at prom and that was the best.
They tore our legs up.
It was welcome to Florida.
Chris, what about you?
It actually kind of ties into my worst and first drinking experience.
Fun.
I can just knock all of those right out of the park at the same time. So I got into the drinking game 14 or 15. I can't remember exactly when. Those couple of years kind of all blend in with each other. But my very first drinking experience was in a small town, rodeo grounds, underneath the stands at the rodeo. And someone handed me a bottle of Jack Daniels with the little plastic stopper pulled out of the top and said, drink this. The first thing I did was sniff it, and they're like, no, don't smell, just drink.
Oh,
Okay.
no. This spells trouble.
I smell trouble.
So everyone's familiar with the shape of Jack Daniels bottles and the general size. So it was full to the top. I was the first person to drink out of this bottle, and I chugged that shit.
Oh, no.
Went from the top of the neck of the bottle down about 1.5 inches past where it goes square, which to the best of my estimation, with several more years of drinking under my belt, was probably about 6 or 7 shots worth of Jack Daniels for my first consumption of alcohol ever.
Oh, no.
I followed that up with a number of beers that I can't remember now because I liked the taste better and it was helping get rid of the flavor of the Jack Daniels. It was a wild night running through the fairgrounds, jumping over fences, running from stray greyhounds. Got back to home after all of our shenanigans, passed out on the couch, proceeded to vomit all over the couch, was dragged up the stairs from the basement, out the front door, onto the patio, was lifted onto a patio chair, given a blanket, and I woke up the next morning at about 7, locked out of the house, covered in just leaves and dirt. This was like small town. Dirt, dust devils, occasional tumbleweeds, whole nine. And I was covered in it when I woke up. Didn't realize what had happened until I walked back in and someone handed me a spray bottle, a mop bucket, and 10 rags. And they were like, you need to clean up the couch.
Oh, man.
What kind of couch was it?
Grandma chic.
Yeah, actually, that's not a terrible description of the couch. It was probably about 15 years older than I am.
Well, hopefully any stains blended into the pattern.
I'll say I didn't contribute a number of stains that was significant compared to the number of stains already on the couch.
Damn, Grandma.
What have you been doing on that couch, Grandma?
Teeth out, legs up.
Stop. Get some help.
Hope you like guava.
Can that be the name of the episode? Please.
Just leaving that random soundbite.
That's the whole episode.
So, Jill, what about your worst outdoors experience?
So my family, at least my mom's side, lives in Idaho, and their winters are awful. And I went out for Christmas one year. I was 16, And we, being my cousins and I, got really high. Started a game of Monopoly, but we were camping in RVs in the middle of National Forest in the middle of winter. Awful idea. So we're super fucked up, and I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
Which meant leaving the RV, walking on some ice. I slipped 4 different times. Hit my head twice. Woke both my aunt and uncle up. And then had to explain why I was high.
Oh, no.
Why her children were high.
Oh my
And
God.
why we were all up at 3 a.m. like balls deep in a Monopoly game.
I've never heard anyone explain Monopoly that way.
Extreme Monopoly.
Extreme Monopoly.
It was like at least 6 hours into a game of Monopoly. Like they went
You
to
were
bed
in it to
and
win
we were
it.
We had just started as they were going to bed.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my worst outside experience.
Very cool, I guess.
All right there, Slender Man. Are you hearing that feedback too?
I touched the wire and it started. What was your worst outside experience? Okay, these have to go.
No more monitor for you.
Well,
But that
it's
solved the
like-
problem.
so your worst outside experience.
Tell me, Bubby.
I must have been 11 or 12. I was on my grandfather's boat with my siblings. We were boating through different like keys off of the Gulf Coast. Not the Florida Keys, but just some small sand lumps with trees on them off the coast. We all decided that we were going to go to a specific spot, and so they anchored out probably a few hundred feet away from the key, and all 4 of us jumped in. We swam to it. The problem is the sand was so soft right around the key as we came up on the shore that our legs sank thigh deep into mud, and the mud was filled with really sharp blade-like shells. So after a few small trudges onto that island, we were all like, fuck. So we're sludge trudging off of the island and swimming towards the boat to get back on. We're like, yeah, no, our legs got cut up by the sand. And they're like, your legs can't get cut up by the sand. And we all got out and we had like little thin razor-like nicks all over our legs. The upside is it was salt water.
Ooh.
And that was the story of how Derek decided he was never going to shave his legs.
Yeah.
I have a wholesome question.
Okay.
What was everybody's first job? Like, what did you guys want to be when you grew up?
Your first
Dream job?
Yeah.
dream job?
I started out as a kid really being interested in technology. And my stepdad was like a sysadmin for a really high-profile company in the Denver Tech Center. I went full steam ahead toward that career. I learned as much as I could. I never got any certificates, but I had all of the background knowledge that I killed the IT interview that I had when I finally found that place I thought I wanted to work at. Very quickly realized that IT people aren't treated very well because you're either sitting around not doing anything and they're wondering why they're paying you, or everything is broken and they're wondering why they're paying you. It ended up being a very underappreciated career.
Sounds like it.
Jeez.
I would want to say that my first job was actually the one I got. I wanted to work at a theme park.
Nice.
And I did that, and it was awful.
Dreams.
Awful.
Spy Kids 2. Island of Lost
Electric
Dreams.
Boogaloo.
No! Don't you dare disgrace Spy
Back in
Kids
the
in this
habit.
household. Do not disgrace
Our Lord and Saviors.
our lords and saviors. Junie Rocket Racer Rebel Cortez.
I knew you were going to do this.
I was just waiting.
Every time.
And Carmen Elizabeth Juanita Echo Spy Bravo Cortez.
Oh.
In this household. I feel like my first dream job was to be on the Disney Channel. Or at least on some channel, on some show as a kid.
Wave the wand, you're like,
But just to be like a performer in some way, but like on the screen rather than on the stage. Funny enough.
Great.
So that's my answer.
Sick.
I'd still like to do that.
Yeah.
Or do voice acting. Or be a comedian.
There's a world of opportunities available.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
Sick. I guess mine kind of falls with what yours was. I wanted to do music and stuff as a kid, especially because I grew up in a very musical theater-friendly household.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my gateway. And now I'm a mess, and I want to do it all the time. But right now I'm a teacher, so that's not as fun.
Ouch.
I know. But yeah, it's kind of the same field you were in, just music.
Could have both been on Disney Channel. Whatever the hell sound you made.
The tongue out and everything.
It was a swooshy. At what point during the swooshy would you go,
At the end, when you finish it and you gotta tap it, you know, they draw the little Mickey head, and then at the end they tap it to make sure that it stays. And that's when
everything you never wanted to know about the Disney swoosh.
Thought it was on every corner. This is what the podcast is for.
Yes.
Just having a fucking good time.
We're having a blast.
I always enjoy asking people what their first celebrity crush was.
Yikes. Tim Curry.
Sick!
Specifically from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
This is why we're friends.
Second, Maverick from Top Gun. Derek?
I don't know. My sexual awakenings were all fucked up in my childhood. That scene with Max and Roxanne.
Ooh, yeah.
Just both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a bit of that, actually. I agree.
And that movie came out the year I was born, so maybe that's why I'm queer.
It's like you read my diary. I was literally going to say that too. I don't know, like, I feel like that's like the standards, like Max or Roxanne, like any of the Disney princesses. That was
Simba.
No, I never got into that. I never did.
You weren't super interested in the voice of Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
I'm down with JTT.
Yeah, you know me.
I don't know, like I never really got into that phenomenon of liking Simba or Kovu from the terrible sequel. I never understood that.
Terrible.
Deception. Disgrace. I don't know. Mine are just kind of the standard answers. My go-tos are, like you said, Max and Roxanne. Another one that comes to mind is Aladdin and Jasmine.
Robin Williams, specifically in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Full on cake face.
You were a confused child, weren't you?
I did
I still
preface
am.
with that, yeah.
It's true.
It's also not true.
Hilary Duff, 100% was the first, like, awakening, and then the second awakening was Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, you know me.
What about you, Jill?
Worst date.
Oh,
Hit me with your story.
goodness.
Worst date? Let me think about this. Any date with my ex? Oh. I was once asked to the Sadie Hawkins dance. This was in 9th grade. And everybody was grinding on each other. And we look at each other like, no. A couple of her friends were like, that's not how you dance. And they put our bodies together like dolls. And they're like, keep doing that, and left. So we left the dance. She dumped me on Christmas a year later. Over the phone. From a different city.
That sounds familiar.
Yoik.
So that's probably mine.
Oh, goodness. Do I have one? Oh, okay. This was sophomore year of high school. And this guy I was dating wanted to take me out because there was a new Harry Potter movie that came out. So he's like, I got you. We're going to go see Harry Potter as a date. And I'm like, sick, awesome, dope, awesome, done. The entire time he tried to take my hand and put it down his pants. And I'm like, no. You told me we're here to see Harry Potter. I did not sign up for this. I ended up talking because I'm still really good friends with this person's sister. And so I went to their house after, and he went to go do something, and I'm like, your brother's fucking psychotic. And she's like, dump him. I'm like, okay. So we broke up like a month later.
You waited a month?
He tried to make it up to me, and I was a stupid high schooler who was like, sure. And it was not, no.
Yes.
It was a sad choice.
It's a sad choice. The shadow of his nose still follows.
It's true.
It was quite a Roman nose.
Probably what I would consider my worst date. There was a very, very awkward girl who lived in my building when I was in student housing. And she asked me out and planned the entire date. And it was okay. We went to like an upscale Hooters-ish establishment. Unfortunately, I had very, very little chemistry in any way, shape, or form. The conversation was all like super dead, really awkward. But we pushed through the rest of the date, walked back to our building. And we're getting ready to go our different directions. She's like scrolling on her phone. I'm like, okay, that was a bad date. She's like looking through whatever it was she was looking through, and then she looks up and she's like, so, Sex Friday?
Damn! Shoot your shot.
And like, if the date had gone off better, I would probably have reacted a little bit differently. But in my head, the first thing that came to mind was, am I getting penciled into her planner? Is she gonna have her people call my people and set something up if I say no? Like, what's going on here? Never ended up happening, but that was by far, at least the very most awkward end to a date that I have ever had.
So I had the experience of dating a coworker, and we used to sneak off from the theme park into this little flower bed park. And my ex also worked at the park. So I'm coming back from a lunch break makeout session at this weird tiny park next to the theme park. Mm-hmm. And I come back and my ex goes, I thought we were going to have lunch together. And he's like, no, we decided not to talk after you threatened to punch my new boyfriend. And she was like, oh, so you're sleeping with him now. I was like, no. But you've ruined the entire experience I just had. And then anytime we were together, she would make it a point to touch her radio to give me anxiety. So any date or any time I saw this person at the park, I felt threatened, which made the dating experience at a theme park miserable.
Okay. What is your best memory looking back the past 4 years?
Pick a number 1 through 3.
Hey, 3.
Okay, you picked the cheesy one. The day we got married. It was really cool. We had a blast. I'd marry you again.
As a group?
Aww.
I can't wait till we get one of those little button soundboards and we can just do one of those.
This specific recording of it.
Yeah. But yeah, the day we got married is probably my favorite. It was fun. I had a lot of fun, and I'd do it again. Except it would be more planned out. I'd have people help us this time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go down the most exciting route. So I picked up Twitch streaming as a hobby. 100% was a thing that I was just going to do. I was playing video games anyway, and I was just playing one day, and someone popped in, hung out for a bit, and the next stream, they came back and subscribed. Second time they'd ever been on the channel. Probably the one person who had viewed me in the 40 hours of streaming I had done after meeting the minimum Twitch requirements for things. And it was one of those moments where it was I've actually done something to entertain someone who I have never met.
We're live, motherfuckers. Shut the fuck up. Oh my god, they were roommates. Lighter, please.
I got you.
Might as well make the best of this fucking situation, neighbors. Hello. Did you not see the big red light outside the studio door? Bastards.
We should get one
What
for
are
the
we in
front
the
door.
50s?
We should get one.
My best memory in 4 years.
A diary.
Probably the day I got my first job, which is verging 5 years, but it doesn't matter. My best friend, still to this day, hired me. I met some great people. Got some good customer interaction, some shitty customer interaction, learned about rides, learned about physics, gained a lot of soft and hard skills, and a lot of best friends I can get high with.
Yeah, boy.
You know, for the most part, that would have made a great cover letter.
Probably a year and a few months ago when we're like, let's set off on our own little adventure, and it landed us here.
Yeah, boy.
So that would be my answer.
Nice.
And I'd go more in depth about it. But I've probably done that twice now on this podcast.
Probably. And we have a whole video on your YouTube channel, so.
So why not do that?
It's fine.
Ooh, let's do something else. Sorry.
So, what's your best dad joke?
Great question.
Thank you! Because I've had one written this whole time.
For a slight amount of backstory, I too worked at an amusement park, often on the Ferris wheel. And so any of the science days, I would love when like super smart looking families would come up and I would say, what's a magnet's favorite amusement park ride?
What?
The Ferris wheel. Some people laughed. And then the other one, I don't even know the context in which I came up with this, but it was bad. What do you call an artist who eats all of their work? An oeuvre eater.
The best, most ongoing one, however, is my significant other's last name is Barn. And if we were to ever have children, we could buy a barn-style house and be the barns in a barn with barn children.
Barns on barns on barns.
And because of that, we have to vet our house choices a little bit heftier now.
It's such a good, like, just run of a joke, though. I love
But,
it.
like, imagine getting a postcard in the mail for a housewarming party, and it's us holding a little infant, standing in front of the barns, and be like, come party with the barns at the barn.
I love it.
Wednesday at 7.
It would be a Wednesday at 7.
Your registry can just be Barnes & Noble.
Could we get married at a Barnes & Noble? That would be the best dad joke.
If only your last name was Noble.
Oh.
I could change it.
Let me just do that real quick.
I made a mistake bringing this up.
Derek, what's your best
Dad joke. I'm like, shit, this is awesome.
Speaking of, did you hear about the kidnapping at Barnes & Noble?
No.
It's okay, you woke up.
Oh. I love that joke. How do you make holy water? You boil the hell out of it.
Hell yes. I guess it would be hell no, wouldn't it? Your turn to ask a question.
Shit.
Best shit, worst shit, first shit. What are we doing? I have a
the
story
rules?
for all of them.
Ew.
Most awkward shit? I don't know. Ooh. Ooh.
I know you see me standing here.
Do I look?
Worst public restroom experience.
Any, like, Dinosaur Ridge specifically has these, like, ground porta potties encased in brick. So the smell just sticks. There's no ventilation. So you walk in, and, like, as a teacher, we take our kids on field trips there. So it's like, I've been on the bus, I've just chugged a Monster to be awake with the kids, to interact with them for the day. I have to use the bathroom. And I was like, oh, they have some buildings. They have to have indoor bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
No, they didn't. They smell like shit. They look like shit. It was just awful. Because the kids could hear me groan and then told me that they would hold it the rest of the field trip. As soon as I opened the door, half of my students were like, no.
I'm good.
No. I was like, well, this isn't really a choice for my body, so see you guys in like 10 minutes.
My worst public restroom story isn't necessarily about the restroom itself, but more about the situation. I can't say that it's the worst, but it's definitely the most prominent in my mind since it happened week and a half ago. We were at the mall, Chloe, my mother, and I, while my mother visited for the 2 weeks she was here last month. And
I'm like, oh, I have to use the restroom. So I look at the map, and there are 2 restrooms. One on the first floor on the exact opposite side of the mall, or one on the second floor above me that was just a couple stores down. I'm like, oh, I know the answer to this. So I went up to the escalators, and only the down escalator was broken. Or the up escalator was broken. The down escalator was working. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll trudge up these stairs. But I really have to use the bathroom now. So I get up the stairs, round the corner, go into the men's restroom. Both stalls are being used. The urinal is being used, and there are 2 people washing their hands. And I was like, no. So I noticed that there was a family restroom and changing area. So I quickly went in there, went into the restroom portion. I sat on a normal-sized toilet next to a child's toilet, and everything was going fine until I heard a baby crying and someone wiggling the door handle. And now I'm that asshole. Eventually they left, and I got out scot-free. But wasn't fun at the time. Was not fun at the time.
Strangely enough, that's not the direction that I thought that story was going to go. Because every time I see one of those, the first thing that pops into my mind is, how many people have had sex in there? Like, teenagers specifically. Because I feel like they would be the only ones who would do that. But I'm positive that that's a thing that happens in there really frequently.
Can you imagine being like a mall employee walking by and then you see just a couple come out? I'd probably look at him and go, so which one of you sat on the short toilet?
No. That restroom is for people who are part of a family and need to go in there together, not people trying to make a family. Move along.
I don't really have any, but I will tell my favorite story about my cousin using a public bathroom. This is probably my favorite story of my cousin to this day. So we went to a very, very uptight private elementary school, and my cousin went to use the bathroom. She had the whole pass and everything. She was doing her thing, whatever. She comes out and is starting to dry her hands, and there's a teacher in the bathroom, and the teacher just looks down at my cousin, who's like 7, and she just goes, "You're wasting God's paper towels." Just dead in the face, and my cousin starts crying. That's my favorite story.
You're wasting God's paper
You're
towels.
wasting God's paper towels.
You silly wasting piece of shit.
And that's why we're agnostic.
And that's you prick.
But yeah, it's just my favorite story.
But yeah.
Sorry about your paper, Jesus.
Wow.
Sorry, Jesus.
Mom, can you pick me up?
Could you imagine the next day in the confessional, though?
I'm 7.
We're done with this. Moving on.
So, there is a 24-hour coffee shop downtown that's also a bar. So, people are going into this coffee shop and getting wasted. And they're not just drinking. So this particular bathroom has seen its fair share of a large number of things. But enough that me and everyone that I know will never, ever step into that restroom. We will go down the street to the 7-Eleven, buy something, pee there, and then walk back. Over the course of a month, I watched a man's life completely fall apart in that bathroom. It was another one of the regulars. It started out, he was drinking a couple shooters in the stall. Whatever. Next time I walked in, smoking weed. Cool, whatever. Third time I walked in, he was snorting cocaine off of the tank of the toilet.
Oh my God.
Hey, at least he worked his way up.
It was about that point at which I was like, I don't think it's safe for me to touch any surface in that restroom.
I can only imagine what the next tier was. Like, I want to walk in one more time. Just one last time. Just to see how everything's going for this poor man. He's like shooting horse tranquilizer up his ass, and you're like, I'm done.
I have to leave now. Best childhood memory.
When I was 5, when I turned 5, my mother took me to Disney World for the first time, and it was the year 2000. It's rad as fuck. But that's not the point. The point is I went to Disney World for the first time when I was 5, and it was awesome. That was it. The rest of my childhood was a bit of a dark time.
Okay, Chloe.
I'm like so invested now. Like I know your backstory, but like it's the dark times.
Well, when I was in middle school, one of the people that I rode the bus with showed me this picture. He printed full color from the internet, and he's like, "Look, she's got a penis," and I'm like, "I can't sit next to you anymore."
I wasn't expecting that story.
It's true.
I can't sit next to you anymore. It's so good. Oh, I don't want to take your answer because I had something very similar.
Another one.
Another one. Probably when my sister was born. I was very excited to be a big sister. So when my mom was like, guess what? You're going to be a big sister. I was like, fuck yeah. And I like had a list of names and like I was ready. I had like a box of my toys just ready to go. I was very excited. And then my sister happened. And yep, that's a thing.
I was excited, but now it's just a thing.
No, it's my sister.
I was
I'm used to her
stoked.
now.
Now it's just my life.
She's 19. I'm over it now. Like, she's fine.
Mine is also Disney World related.
Fuck yeah.
So I visit Disney World a lot with my grandmother. But the first time that I went, she managed to get my entire family down there at the same time, which was no small feat.
I don't have small feet. There's no small feet. I got big feet. It means I have a big dick. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
I can't sit with you anymore.
Okay, so it was me, my mom, my stepdad, and my sister. And we were all going down for the 4th of July, which is a pretty rad time for Disney because they do fireworks everywhere all the time anyway. But my stepdad had to drive down with my mother because he refuses to fly on airplanes. Bad experience with turbulence. But we were down there around the time of a launch from Kennedy Space Center. And so we all packed up into the Jeep Wrangler, drove down to Kennedy Space Center, did the tours, and then parked along the coast somewhere with a good view and watched a rocket launch, which was probably one of the most amazing things that I saw during my childhood. 100%. Like, the purpose of the trip was Disney, and then we were like, we could do Kennedy Space Center while we're down here. Watching us launch thousands and thousands of pounds of metal into space was amazing.
So my dad was in the military prior to me being born and did tours when I was like an infant. But he still stayed in contact with different people from his unit throughout the States. And very frequently, like, they all developed PTSD back on U.S. soil. So he would frequently fly out to make sure that they were all okay. It was like this cool buddy system that they always had. But my favorite memories are him coming home, because my brain never realized that he was not still in the military, because he would leave in uniform and come back in uniform. So I was like, oh, my dad's a badass, and I get to see him. And then, like, 3 weeks later, he'd leave again. I'd be like, whoa, the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So it was always like is Dad going to be home for the weekend? And then it was wholesome when he did.
I love it.
Aww.
Aww.
Thanks.
I was trying to harmonize in my head to find that pitch. I didn't find it in time before the awe ended.
What is it Trey Blay always yells?
Trey-Blay.
That's how everyone says his name too. That's what's funny. No one's ever like, oh, it's Trey. Everyone's like, look, it's Trey Blay.
I love it.
We were asking a Pokemon
I was
question.
just going to say he's a Pokemon.
Trey-Blay! Trey-Blay! Trey-Blay's approaching. Trey-Blay! I hear him. He's right around the corner. Trey-Blay?
That was a journey.
What RPG
Isn't-
is this?
And he's got like Beyblades as weapons. Anytime he's coming to attack, Triplet, play Beyblade!
A plus.
All right, question.
Tell me what you think about me.
What is the worst thing you've ever found online?
How raunchy do you get on this podcast?
However you want.
Banana clits.
You do you.
What's funny is you don't need to explain it to know what that means. There's only one thing it could mean.
Yep. It is exactly what you picture in your head. And it's terrifying.
2 girls, 1 cup.
Yeah, me too.
That was the top. That was the topper.
Yeah, I feel like that was mine too.
It was one of those things growing up in the golden age of the internet where you weren't ever really sure what you were going to end up at. Mm-hmm. You were just ready to close that browser window and clear your browsing history immediately every time you clicked on a link.
Probably any of the secret Reddit threads of watch people die. There's a lot of videos filmed on phones of people dying.
Usually on like
It's
Live
like-
Leak.
It's like, who the fuck is filming this? And those people are dying. Pretty fucked up shit.
That question went really quickly.
That's it, yeah.
Porn and death. Anyone else?
That's the standard answer.
Weird porn and death.
Weird death. And porn.
The X-Files music starts playing. So what was everybody's first pet? Coming in hot with those wholesome questions.
Yeah.
Aww.
My first pet was a long-haired mutt that was named Foxy. And she was a terrible guard dog. Like, she would bark when people would come to the door, but as soon as we would open the door, she would, like, run out and start licking their hands. It was never, like, a situation where you're like, I shouldn't go into that house. There's a big, scary dog there. She was a very large dog, but was all bark.
I grew up with 2 St. Bernards, Buddy and Bear, and they were my best friends.
Oh, I love it.
And they were always bigger than me, and I loved them.
My first pet was a beagle named Baxter. I don't remember him too much. But he was a cutie and a loud dog because he was a beagle. And beagles are loud dogs. Chloe.
My first pet was a dog named Buster. He was a Shih Tzu something mix. I don't remember what it is. And my mom and dad got him about a year before I was born. So he was real protective of me real quick. And anytime I had like cousins come over or like friends, he would like try nipping at him. And he's like, no, this is my Chloe. Don't touch her. And it was just really cute and sweet. But he... we got a cat a little afterwards, and they did not get along. So Buster hung out with me a lot more.
Nice. I never met Buster.
No, you didn't. You met the idiot version. The dingus version.
What is the dream you guys all had that you remember the most vividly?
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Here we go again.
So do you guys know the famous painting of dogs playing poker?
Yes.
Of course.
The best painting.
So my parents actively played poker at our house with friends. And I remember growing up, and my sister would always be like, oh, those dogs are mean. They're going to burn you with their cigars. And she like...
Oh my god.
My sister and I did not have a very healthy relationship. Let me preface this.
See those dogs in the painting? They'll fuck you up.
Yeah, she'd be like, if you don't listen, I'm calling those dogs.
Oh.
It was like a threat when she babysat me. But I fell asleep one night while my parents were playing poker with their friends. And my St. Bernard buddy came in the room and, like, laid on my bed. And it scared the shit out of me while I was sleeping.
Oh no.
And I thought that my sister's threats were coming true.
Oh.
Because I was being a shit to her all day.
Dear God.
That's
So
awful.
I had this dream that different dogs, like, bombarded the room. Because when my parents hosted poker nights, their friends were allowed to bring their dogs.
Even better.
So there were already a ton of dogs in the house, and I sleepwalk. So all of them, like, in my mind, came into my room, and I remember walking out into the hallway in my dream, which I actually did, and just screaming. My mom ran up the stairs and woke me up and was like, "Oh, what was that?" And I was like, "You need to get the dogs out. They're going to kill me, Mom." I don't even know they're going to kill me.
The ones with the gods and the green fucking vises.
They have cigars. They're going to burn my body. And my mom was like, "That's just a painting downstairs." And it was like, "No, you don't understand. Lori's talked about this. It's going to happen. It's coming true. I didn't listen. They're coming after me." And she woke my sister up, and my sister goes, "Yeah, I told her that."
Nice.
But it was like the most vivid dream, and still to this day, I can give myself a panic attack if I think about it too long.
This is why you watch Duns and Checks.
So you can check out. Probably the recurring nightmare of the coyotes. They were like coyotes, but they were like anthropomorphized, and they were very angry, and they would chase after me and my mother. And I remember, she'd run up to her room, and I'd, lock the door and then run up to see where she was. And then her window was open, and one of the dogs sounds fucking hilarious when you hear it, but when you were dreaming it, not fun. Was up to the second story window level, riding a unicycle that was really tall. Made eye contact with me, climbed in the window, and killed my mother.
So I have some questions about this dream.
I may or may not have those answers. I still have questions about these dreams.
Are you sure it was a unicycle or was it a penny farthing?
It was a unicycle.
Okay. That was an important clarification. Tall bicycle, really big unicycle.
Really big unicycle in the front and a stabilizer in the back. Ye old penny farthing. The bird on the 1 cent piece.
God, another sad dream. Okay, cool. When I was really little, I had dreams after it's so dumb. After watching Madeline, the movie where she like gets lost and ends up in a sweatshop. I don't know if anybody's seen this movie.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So like I loved Madeline as a kid, so that I had that movie on like repeat every other day pretty much. And it got to the point where I would start having nightmares that my parents left me. Just like out and about, and they just left me. It was the worst. Like I would wake up, I was like 5, and I would go to my mom's room and be like, "Mom, you still love me, right?" But yeah, I had a really sad dream as a kid.
Did you find yourself in a sweatshop?
What?
Did you ever find yourself in a sweatshop?
Sometimes in the dream, sometimes yes.
You sure it's the cat one?
That wasn't the one I was thinking of, actually. I can tell both if you want me to.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with the one that's not the cat dream. You know how your brain rearranges places when you're dreaming? Mm-hmm. Like, you know that you're in a location, but things about it are wrong?
Sure. For sure.
No.
Like it was your house, but it wasn't your house.
Yeah, it was your house, but you had like different furniture, and for some reason the kitchen was in the back instead of in the front, weird stuff like that.
So I walked in your front door, down a long hallway, took a left into the bathroom, found some stairs, walked down there, saw you in the living room looking out the window.
Yeah. And this is, that particular thing is what this whole dream hinges on, because it took me a very long time to remember this part of the dream, and it was only recently it came up. So when I was 7, I lived in my grandfather's apartment in Nebraska. And it wasn't somewhere I was super familiar with, but I had a race car bed, and it was awesome.
Always a plus.
But in this dream, I had gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and somehow didn't realize that the layout of the apartment wasn't what I was expecting it to be. And in the dream, I walked into the toilet.
Nice.
Foot in the bowl, and caught my leg in the P-trap of the toilet, and ended up having to stand with one foot in the toilet because I was stuck until everyone woke up in the morning. It's probably the most vivid dream that I have from my childhood, because it scared the shit out of me.
Well, at least you're in the right room for that.
No, because the toilet was in the middle of the living room in the dream. Yeah. It was very badly placed. But yeah, cat dream, which is not actually a dream, kind of. I was living in my parents' house still, and I had my own room, but I had a really big, like, accountant's desk. Really heavy oak ones with the giant drawers. And in this, what I thought was a recurring dream that I was having over a period of like 2 weeks, 3 o'clock in the morning would hit. I would hear a noise. I would look at my phone. I would see that it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I would look at the window of my room, and there would be a cat standing in the windowsill staring at me. And we would stare at each other for a very long time, because I don't think either of us thought the other one was there, or should have been there. And then eventually I would, like, lay back down and, like, force myself to go to sleep in the dream, or so I thought. I was playing Counter-Strike one day, awake, and sitting there playing, and I feel this brush up against the side of my leg. It's like, okay, what the fuck was that? I roll the chair back, look under the desk, and there's a cat staring up at me that had apparently been trapped in my room for 2 weeks. And what I had thought was a recurring nightmare was me actually being awoken to the sound of an actual cat standing in my window, scratching at the screen, trying to get out. And I left that cat trapped in my fucking room for 2 weeks because I thought that it wasn't real.
Aww.
Bitch.
The most awkward thing about this entire experience was trying to figure out how to tell my parents that I was accidentally trapping a neighborhood cat in my room for this long period of time because I thought that the cat was a dream. Like, I even remember how that conversation went. It was like, Mom, I need help. She's like, okay. Completely out of character thing for me to say. She's like, what's going on? I was like, there's been a cat living in my room for 2 weeks, and I thought that I had made it up, but now it's under my desk and it won't leave. Can you call animal control for me? The what the fuck look on my mother's face when I said that was priceless and also a little bit terrifying.
So what's the best or worst thing a child has ever said to you?
When I was in 5th grade, a kindergartner called me a fat ass. Fuck you, kid. Wherever the fuck you are. I mean, he was right, but you didn't need to tell me.
Don't need to say it.
I already knew.
Oh, okay. So this was my first, like, big time teaching. Like, I had just got my first classroom. I was making lesson plans by myself. I thought I was, like, so on top of my shit because, like, I came up with all these really fun activities. And, like, the first week, and it was a kid that I've had before when I was an assistant teacher. He moved up to my class, and he just goes, Miss Chloe, none of these are fun. I don't like your classroom. And I'm like, fucking all right. Shit. And I had, like, a breakdown that week, and it was great.
Listen here, kid. They're fucking fun. And I don't like you very much. Sit your ass at circle time.
I thought embroidered in circle time.
So I don't remember exactly the context, but I remember walking. He was either down the street or in some sort of a store, but no, I remember where it was. I remember now. Denver Art Museum. There is a very large statue of a broom and a dustpan with a very interesting and punny plaque, and I love it so much. There are a lot of interesting things about the sculpture. It has a lot of very deep and meaningful things in its construction, or whatever. But this particular quote from a child, one of the things is you're not supposed to climb on the giant broom and dustpan, which makes sense. It's a piece of art. That's not something to climb on. But this kid walks over, climbs on one of the bristles of the broom, and shouts to his mother, Mommy, I'm garbage!
Me!
They were so confident, too.
That's so pure.
Man. Hindsight's 20/20 because I want a video of that exact moment. But it doesn't exist. Ironic. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, kid. I want a plaque that just says psoriasis.
Okay.
Oh, God.
You want to see my plaque psoriasis? I'm sorry, it's my psoriasis plaque.
Chloe and I both taught a student that was obsessed with Lightning McQueen. And instead of saying ka-chow, he would go ker-chow. And it was annoying, and he said multiple times every day. And his favorite thing to say as he ran around the playground was, "I'm Lightning McQueen, ker-chow," and then run past you. And then on the lap around, he would stop and do it again. So it was 30 minutes of hearing that, just constantly.
Just on a loop. I was so glad when he moved up classer.
Same.
Hey, I'm Lightning McQueen. Ka-chow. Ka-chow.
Should we do one more round of questions?
I think we should do
We
one
should
more
do
round
one
of
more.
questions. Describe your first time getting high. Hey, it's our damn podcast. We haven't talking about it yet, see? We haven't spoken of singing it. So that's my question.
When we made homemade edibles and we ate them all in one night. It was a really sad choice considering we were living with my parents at the time. So like when we were, gosh, it was a little bit before we moved up here. The first time I got really, really high was when we made homemade firecrackers with Nutella and brioche buns. And we were dinguses and decided to eat it all in one night. So that was fun.
My first time getting high wasn't very memorable. It was one of those, like, really, really bad teenage highs. You know, we were the kind of kids that got drunk underneath the stands of the rodeo grounds. How, like, classy are our substance stories going to be?
Right.
First time was smoking out of a water bottle bong. It was very poorly constructed and tasted like gasoline.
Gross.
I wasn't even sure. Smoking out of plastic bottles is bad for kids. Don't smoke out of them. It's very, very bad for you. And also, I'm not even sure that was weed, looking back on it, because the only thing that happened was I got more talkative. I didn't feel any different. I just talked more, which could either have been that or the copious amounts of alcohol that I had that night. The first time that I got high, then I knew that I got high. That's a good sentence. I was with a bunch of friends after anime club, and everyone around me had been smoking for a while, and I was like, might as well give this a try. I don't have anything to lose right now. Not at this time of my life. So I got high, and about, 45 minutes later, I decided that we were going to take a trip to the wing shop and get some wings, because I was hungry. And the most memorable thing about that trip wasn't the wings. It was sitting at the table in the wing store, watching Scrubs on the TV, with some really hardcore gangsta rap playing on the sound system. And my brain connected the two together, and to me, Dr. Bob Kelso was rapping like a motherfucker. And that was the funniest shit that I had ever seen.
I love that. That's amazing.
It was great.
What about you, Gil?
My first time getting high was also edibles. My friend had procured some gummies, and I was like, oh, these are really good fruit snacks. And we were naive, and we didn't know how much to take, so we ate a bunch. We split the pack 5 and 5. And then another friend came, and he smoked all the time. And Zave was like, dude, you guys should try dabs. And I was like, that's fine. I don't feel anything. The edibles are not working. So I took 3 dabs. Immediately, everything hit all at once.
Ooh.
So
This
I was
is such a
sitting
Jill story.
in a car being like, shit. I have shit to do with my military father, and I can't even think. I'm not even a person anymore. And everyone was like, no, you're still a person. You're just intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, thanks for the support.
How did that go?
Well, I slept over at a friend's house for like 2 days.
Nice.
So the first time I got high, we were just turning 21, and it was at a friend's house. And that was around the time where it's like, yeah, let's try. Because in Florida, it's not readily available. And what is readily available is garbage and overpriced. So she had some actually decent marijuana, and we're like, yeah, let's go. Chloe, you just that was around the time where you're like, no, not for me, thanks. And I remember taking, I think, 3 hits off of a glass one hitter. It was more of a chillum. It was a little bit bigger than a one hitter, and I like cleared 3 of those bowls. And I'm like, that was easy. That was not a problem. Piece of cake, not feeling anything. And she's like, well, here, use the bong too. So I nursed it. And then what for me felt like 45 minutes later, which was probably 7,
Maybe. Tops.
I realized that I was staring at the tiles on the kitchen floor, kicking the back of my feet on the stool, just because I liked both the sound and how it felt when my shoes hit the stool. And I looked up and I'm like, how long have I been making that noise? And then that's when Chloe was like, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I am. So that was my first time getting high. And I didn't get too high, thankfully, but I got high enough where it was a great time. She left us as a friend. Dropped out the face of the planet. For a boy. For a fucking boy. Where?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, what's the best thing your significant other has done recently?
Best. As in most interesting?
Whatever your interpretation is. It could be something they did really nice. It could be just something that they've been doing around the house. Like anything you think is best.
That has to be a sleepwalking story. Well, it was innocent and adorable, also amazing, just from like a psychological perspective. So she sleepwalks. There was one night at about, 3 o'clock in the morning-ish. She gets up, goes to the bathroom. She can do that in her sleep. It's great.
And it's great. It's a fantastic feature.
It's impressive. Like, toilet seat doesn't matter. She'll figure that out. Everything. Washes her hands, which leads to the best thing that she's done recently. She goes to dry her hands after washing her hands and touches the towel and it falls off of the towel hook in the bathroom. And she flails at the wall for a couple seconds trying to figure out what happened with the towel. And then what wakes me up from my slumber is her saying, "Pumpkin, my towel is broken."
Aww.
And so I had to direct her where to find the towel, giving directions to her while she's sleepwalking. She finally grabs the towel, dries her hands off, and then spends about 2 minutes trying to hang the towel back up onto the hook, and it keeps falling down. And after the third time, "Pumpkin, my towel is still broken." And the only thing that I could say at that point, because I was a little bit annoyed, was like, "Pumpkin, it's fine. We'll fix the towel in the morning. Come back to bed."
Aww.
Sleep me and awake me are two very separate people. We live very separate lives.
Right.
Got fired. We get to spend more time together. We get to actually hang out. It's like he's present in my life for 6 months during theme park operation season. But it's leading us on new adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe new states.
Right.
New jobs. Room to grow.
On the job avenue, I think the best thing that you've done recently, not for me, but, for you, is what happened at your last job and all that fucked up bullshit, and then them realizing that they can't afford you and letting you go, and then the time between that and you finding another job, it's just I admire your strength and perseverance, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Aw, thanks, Bubby.
For sure, and I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
I know.
It's a new opportunity.
Soon. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one. It's very, very small, but I very much appreciate the little things. So because I lost my job recently, I wasn't as down in the dumps as I thought I was going to be, especially because I pretty much already had that other job lined up just in case. And I was just kind of hanging out. I think I was over here on the computer. You were hanging out with your mom or whatever. And you just look at me and you just go, "Chloe, you're so pretty today." And I'm like, "Fucking shit, what? Ew, gross." But it meant a lot. It really did. It's the little stuff. You know how to get me, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gross nothing.
And you also have been bringing me candy lately, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah. That's the best thing I've done is called you pretty and give you chocolate.
Yeah, but
nice.
Well,
That's a good way into anybody's heart, though.
It's true.
If you had the chance to go back and change one thing about your life,
Would
what
you?
would you change? / would you? Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing you could think of doing differently.
I don't think I would change anything. I make a lot of poor choices, and I try to learn from each poor choice.
What are you learning from this podcast?
But I have great friends.
Aw.
I probably wouldn't change anything either because I like where I am in life right now. That or I'd invest in Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Chloe,
My turn.
if you had the chance to
Change
change
your
your
fate,
fate, would you? Here's
I
one
mean-
answer.
I mean, no, I really wouldn't. I'm a person that learns from their mistakes, so I would just kind of keep on trucking. It's got me here, and I'm impressed so far.
So now you're faced with the challenge of not saying, I wouldn't change anything. Because none of us were original, so you have to be.
Well, I always flip-flop back and forth on one pivotal decision that would have changed my entire life. So, through some difficult family circumstances, I had to choose whether I was going to drop out of school and be homeschooled, stay in the same school I was going to, or leave that school, stay in school, but go to the, semi-private school that I had tested into through the standardized testing. And I always think about that decision specifically when life is super rough, because everything past that point would have been different. And I think I probably wouldn't change it, but every once in a while when shit's real rough, I think about how many things could have been different if I had gone either of the other two paths and not homeschooled all the way through middle school and high school. Because those are really important times in the development of a person. You meet so many of the people that shape who you are during those middle school and high school years. And I have always been really curious about who I would be if I would have had that experience. The person that I would have become, the traits I would have had, the things that I would have done, the opportunities I would have had. I feel like I missed out on stuff by homeschooling. But every once in a while, looking back, life's pretty good the way it is. I've done amazing things. I've met amazing people. And I would like to think that I'm an okay person-ish.
Well, you are to us.
Well, I'm here, so I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, since someone went sad, I have to go with a positive question. Favorite memory with anyone sitting at this table?
Oh,
Or anyone. It could be multiple.
just throw out a bunch of them. Rapid fire.
Well, this one's been great so far. So this one's going to have to go on the list. Christmas was fun when you and Wyatt came and...
Yeah.
Or the week after I got fired where we just drank as much as we possibly could at Wyatt's place. But, I don't know, there's never really been a time where, we've hung out with you both and it hasn't been memorable in one way. It's just you guys are friends. It's been fun.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome.
I love it.
Your turn.
I talk about you all the time. So I'm going to shift my focus to Miss Jill over here.
Don't use my teacher name. Disgusting.
I get a free pass.
Blocked.
Blocked and reported. I think that sums it up. I just love being friends with Jill. Jill's been one of my favorite people since we moved here, and I could not have asked for a better first friend. And yeah, Jill's cool. I like Jill a lot. People think we're twins, and it's great. Also, it's really fun when she wears her promise ring and I wear my ring because it looks like we're married.
Aww.
Man, now I feel weird doing a specific memory. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Be uniquely you. Easy breezy cover Chris.
You forgot beautiful? How dare? I'm offended on Chris's part. I'm leaving.
Hope you like one.
It's weed related.
Sick.
As we said at the beginning, don't smoke at all or indulge in the marijuanas. But I definitely have witnessed a lot of things, despite making everyone smoke other places than in my apartment. So there was one night, Jill was out on the patio smoking with someone, and I don't 100% remember who all was there because my memory doesn't seem to track things like that. Definitely tracks, like, what color shoes I was wearing that day. But Jill was trying to clear a bowl over the balcony.
I remember who was there.
Good. That's what I thought. I just didn't want to say it and get it wrong.
I know exactly who was there.
I got like the minute we realized what story what this was. The three of us were just like, "Yup, this is where we die."
This is where you die.
Shall you continue?
So there was no like scraping it out or tapping it on anything. No, Jill tried to blow the weed out of the bowl through the bong. And the positive pressure of the blowing caused the bowl to leap out of the bong, fall over the railing of the balcony, and land in the parking lot below. And from my perspective, I was in the kitchen cooking, staring out at the patio. And she's like looking at it, and she like turns over towards the railing and blows. And I see the bowl go, and I was like, did that actually just happen? And then she turns towards the kitchen with this like sad puppy face. And y'all are out on the patio just laughing your asses off. Well, she's like holding her eyes, trying not to cry.
That glass deserved better.
Yeah, you blew it off.
Dad joke.
Huh, but
In my mind, it made one of those like plungery noises. Where like you've got a syringe, you pull on the plunger far enough, it pops out and all the air sucks in. You got the nice thunk.
Yeah.
it was better because there was water in it, of course.
Right.
And so it kind of made it a sound as it launched, just the. And I saw it frozen in time, the arch from where the bowl would go into the bong, up and over.
Okay, my
Frozen
eyes
in
were
time.
closed when I blew out. So I heard the and I was like, what was that? I was still holding my bong, and I looked down to see shattered glass, and I was like, God damn it.
Like, I swear it was full slow motion. It was just
Record scratch.
over the balcony.
You're probably
I'm
wondering.
wondering how we got in this situation.
Then there was a slight delay for it to hit the ground off from the second story balcony. It was. I couldn't hold it anymore. I lost my shit because we had mentioned that day.
Literally 4 minutes before I did it.
Just imagine if you try to clear it and you blew in the bowl and it launched over the balcony
Well, it launches.
out of my periffs.
Ouch. That never-ending game of fucking Uno at Wyatt's house has got to be my favorite memory. We played Uno for a straight hour, shit-faced, cross-faded, and it would not end. We had to reshuffle like 5 times.
At least.
And it was just Wyatt and I going back and forth.
It was a nightmare.
And we each had 8 cards at least before we tapped and just quit and played Cards Against Humanity.
Meaning everyone was a winner. So I think that'll have to do it with our first times, best times, worst times. This has been fun.
This has been a
Yeah.
blast, you guys.
Thanks for hosting the Barnes Bros.
No.
Yeah, boy.
We're getting a barn. You heard it here first.
So I have a question for the Barnes brothers.
Doesn't it sound bad when other people say it?
I see your problem. That was awful.
Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Yes. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Joannis. You can find a link in the description. My channel primarily consists of me playing whatever the hell it is I'm playing at the time. But I do like to focus on very story-heavy games that have a lot of like super deep discussion, really philosophical things. Like, how Andrew Ryan affects the psyche of the player throughout the entirety of BioShock. None of those videos are saved anymore, unfortunately, but that is the class of conversation that I like to have on my channel, and Jill occasionally joins me, and it is a
journey.
It is a wonderful time. It's very thought-provoking. Most of the time, not nearly this funny, but I like to think that it's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you both so much for hanging out with us, and a huge thank you to our beautiful guests, Chris, Jill. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Make sure you're following us on all of our social media at Our Damn Podcast.
And if you're listening on iTunes, be sure to leave us a super rad review. And remember, have a damn good day. Get the fuck out of here. Blade. How you know I'm coming?